Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. Lawmakers are targeting to pass the 2026 national budget in a few hours. But from the looks of it, with contentious issues still unsettled, it could be one long night or even a week for the BICAM contingents.
And the EDSA rehabilitation project finally gets a start date and on Christmas Eve yet. Give or take, authorities are promising to finish the highways makeover in 8 months.
And still on transport, the temporary cut in surge pricing has ride-hailing services up in arms. We speak to Laban TNVS about their plan to go offline during rush hours in protest of the cap.
That's why ayaw na ayaw namin ma-insertion sa BICAM. Mag-isip-isip sila, matuto sila gumawa ng budget nila.
Thank you for the lecture, Senator Loren.
I'm not lecturing.
No, we thank you really. You're really...
Either ignorante si Senator Ping or nagmamaang-maangan sa ginawa ng Senado na kinaltas yung budget na para dapat sa government employees, no to pork.
Di isa nag-research. Unang-una, yung realignment ginawa papunta sa mga subsistence allowance ng uniform personnel. So walang pork, mag-aral siya ng budget para niya.
The BICAM for next year's national budget started late again. And still, lawmakers are aiming to finish deliberations by tonight to pass the budget on time. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes is covering the bicameral proceedings at the PICC. Merimon, mukha bang pamorningan ang mangyayari ngayong gabi dahil sa naaantalang deliberasyon?
Ladies, good evening. 5:15 p.m. nagsimula ang BICAM dito. That's an hour and 15 minutes later than the targeted time na pagsisimula, which is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Pero ngayon naman dito, so far, nakasuspend muna ang BICAM dahil nagdi-dinner break muna yung mga miyembro ng BICAM from the Senate and from the House. Ang sabi dito ni Senate Finance Committee Chair Sherwin Gatchalian at the House Committee on Appropriations Chair Congresswoman Micaela Swansing, target nila na matapos ngayong araw, Miyerkules, ang BICAM, kaya hindi malabo na tulad kagabi na natapos kaninang madaling araw, posibleng pagmagdamagan din ang isasagawang BICAM, lalo pat hinahabol nila yung timeline for the ratification of the budget hanggang sa signing kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, hopefully before New Year.
Pero so far, ano bang napapag-usapan?
Says dalawa yung major na na-bring up na naman kanina kung saan na-call out ni Senator Loren Legarda. Pero yung dalawang yan, for example, una, sa Department of Transportation, inaprubahan kanina yung requested na additional funding support para raw sa LRT-1 Cavite Extension Common Station at sa Automated Fare Collection System. Ang nire-request dito ng ahensya is 3.6 billion pesos para doon sa mga proyekto, pero nilinaw ni Senator Sherwin Gatchalian kanina para raw mabigay yung pondo, yung supporting funds pa na kinakailangan, realignment ang gagawin nila. So ang naging motion ng Senado, ang kukunin from the Office of the Secretary, Metro Manila Subway Phase 1, 1.8 billion pesos, sa North-South Commuter Railway, 1.8 billion pesos, at dadalhin naman yon sa Office of the Secretary, Operation and Maintenance of Metro Rail Transit, 14 million pesos, sa LRT-1 Cavite Extension, 2 billion pesos, and budgetary support to government corporation, 1 billion pesos. Dito, kinall out ni Senator Loren Legarda na kung may ganito pa pala raw na kinakailangan, bakit daw hindi pa ito na-bring up ni Transportation Secretary Giovanni Lopez before the BICAM, kahit daw nung during the plenary debates, no, at the committee level, both from the House and from the Senate. Pero ang pagpapaliwanag naman ni Chairman Mika Swansing, kausap niya kasi sa phone si Secretary Lopez, ang yung hinihintay daw ng Light Rail Management Corporation, hinihintay ng DOTR yung LRMC para asikasuhin yung ibang documentations at yung iba pang requirements dahil PPP raw para ma-push through itong PPP, yung public-private na project for the 2026. Pero up until this point daw, hindi pa napapasa yung mga documents na kinakailangan or requirements from the LRMC. Pero so far, sinuportahan naman ito at the end, inaprubahan naman nila yung hinihinging suporta. Doon naman sa Department of Agriculture, na-raise naman ngayon yung sa farm-to-market roads. 33 billion pesos kasi yung naaprubahan na amount or allocation for FMRs. And ang sabi dito ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan, yung inaprubahan nilang listahan which has coordinates and yung technical descriptions na kinakailangan. Pero nitong isang araw daw kasi, nagbigay naman ng letter itong si Agri Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel na naglalaman din doon yung around 8 billion pesos worth naman ng farm-to-market roads na nais ipalit doon sa nasa loob ng unang listahan na inaprubahan nila. Again, ang naging question na naman dito ni Senator Loren Legarda, even ni Senator Erwin Tulfo, bakit meron na namang ganito raw na request, baka raw mamihasa yung mga ahensya na sa mga susunod daw na mga pagdinig, sa mga susunod daw na BICAM, pwede naman daw at the last minute magkakaroon ng requests. Pero ang sinasabi naman dito na naging excuse naman daw ni Secretary Chu Laurel, yung unang listahan daw kasi ng farm-to-market roads, yung projects na yun, binigay daw without the knowing of Secretary Laurel dahil nasa official medical leave ang secretary, ang kalihim. Pero yung binigay naman ngayon na listahan ng amounting to 8 billion pesos worth ng FMRs, may coordinates din naman daw ito at nais lang daw palitan yung 8 billion pesos worth naman ng mga proyekto na nasa inaprubahang 33 billion pesos. So, nagkaroon nga lang ng contention dun sa part na parang nagiging last minute na naman yung adjustments pero inaprubahan din nila yun. And so far, marami-rami pa yung isasalang na inaasahan for tonight. Kasama na rin dyan yung COA, yung COMELEC, Office of the Ombudsman, yung revised AFP Modernization Program, Unprogrammed Appropriations, wala pa yan. And ang pinakahinihintay ng lahat, ang Department of Public Works and Highways na budget.
Okay, Mary Mon, ano ba yung sinasabi ni Tino? Ano yung allegations niya na may pork pa din na nakapaloob sa pinag-uusapan nila ngayon?
Says itong si Teachers Party's Representative Antonio Tino, ang claim niya, allegedly ang Senado raw merong 17.9 billion pesos na pork na inilodge sa mga local government units. Ang allocation daw ay nanggaling sa pondo na sana pakikinabangan doon mga government employees and over 1,000 regularization ng mga contractual employees daw ang maaapektuhan dito. Ang nangyari kasi, nag-slash ang Senado sa miscellaneous personnel benefits fund by 55 billion pesos at pinalobo ng Senado yung alokasyon para naman sa mga LGU. What happened is yung sa dinoble, yung LGU support fund from 20.2 billion pesos to 38 billion pesos. And ironic daw na kino-call out ang House para doon sa alokasyon sa MAIFIP, ang patronage politics din daw, nag-i-exist din daw doon sa pondo naman ng LGUs. Pakinggan natin ang bahagi ng panayam ni Representative Tino.
So either ignorante si Senator Ping or nagmamaang-maangan sa ginawa ng Senado na kinaltas yung budget na para dapat sa government employees para ilagay sa LGU pork ng mga senador. Kaya dapat hands off, huwag galawin yung budget na para sa government employees. No to pork.
Hindi siya nag-research. Unang-una, yung realignment ginawa papunta sa mga subsistence allowance ng uniform personnel. Yung sinasabi naman yung LGSF, yun yung request ng Malacanang para yung mga tinamaan ng calamities masuportahan. Pero yung kinuha naman namin doon sa 255 na mga flood control. Yung sa MPPF, yun yung napunta sa subsistence allowance. So walang force, mag-aral siya ng budget para niya sabihin.
Mary Mon, can you hear us?
Yes, Sean.
Okay. Sabi mo nga no mamaya, isa sa mga pending dyan yung DPWH budget. Do we have any idea kung anong magyayari dito doon sa 45 billion na hinihinging pang-augment? Ibibigay ba o hindi?
Sean, ang sabi kanina ni Senator Sherwin Gatchalian bago sila pumunta dito sa PICC, kino-compute pa rin daw nila at ina-apply na nila yung updated na construction materials price data na pinadala ng DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon. Pero ang nasabi kanina ni Senwin, medyo may hinting na nangyari. May mababalik pero hindi totally yung 45 billion pesos. At ang sabi pa nga kanina, ayaw pang mag-confirm talaga itong si Senwin. Pero yung calculations na nila ngayon, mas specified na. Kasi yung mga detalye, compared sa unang ipinadala sa CMPD na regional lang, ngayon mas specific na raw. Kaya mas maia-apply na per project itong para malaman talaga nila kung may i-retain na pondo sa specific project, kung may babalik ba na pondo or hahayaan na lang as is or may babawasan. Pakinggan natin ang bahagi ng pahayag kasama si Senator Sherwin Gatchalian.
Kasi pinactor in nila yung logistics, hauling, indirect costs, saka iba pa mga costs to make it realistic. Kasi nga yung argument ng VP, hindi siya implementable dahil yung binigay sa amin, too general raw yung number. So ngayon, marami ng detail. So obviously, liliit na yung savings na 45 billion na kinumpute namin.
Okay, so Marymon, can we assume na na-recompute na ng opisina ni Senator Win itong mga bagong factors, no? At bagong datos, bagong mga numbers?
Sean, ang sabi ni Senwin kanina, it's still in the works, kino-compute pa rin, ina-apply na. Pero since target nila na matapos ang BICAM today, so that includes itong mga provisions na merong disagreement pa between the BICAM members, hindi malabong mabubuksan na rin ang budget ng Public Works kung target talaga nilang matapos ito ngayon. At mamaya natin malalaman yung naging matrix kasi nanghihingi rin tayo pero so far wala pang naibibigay na detalye kasi binabalance out din daw nila itong mga numero. So we'll check kung lalo na kung aabutin sila ng magdamagan kung ano nga ba yung maging final decision sa reconciliation ng budget ng Public Works.
Well, Marymon, nabanggit mo na nga yung mga ilang ahensya no, na may gusot pa rin sa kanilang budget. Pero ano naman yung mga nakalusot na sa BICAM?
So far, pagdating dito, yung mga maliliit na mga detalye, for example, dito sa 33 billion pesos na farm-to-market rules, hindi naman na siya nabago. Education budget, still yung pinakamalaki, 1.3 trillion pesos. Dumaan na rin yung 3.6 billion pesos naman ng Department of Tourism. Pero titingnan pa natin yung sa ilang mga inaabangan, especially sa AFP Modernization Program, sa COMELEC. Ang OVP budget, Office of the Vice President, 889 million pesos, still at the NEP level, hindi na siya nabago, na-aprubahan na rin siya. And siguro ang pinaka-inaatabayan na din talaga ng lahat, yung sa budget ng over 500 billion pesos na lang for the DPWH, and itong request or pag-aapela ni Sec Dizon na 45 billion pesos, if it's gonna be approved and reconciled dito sa BICAM, or kung they'll let it as is na lang. Pero ang hindi nawawala sa usapin dito sa BICAM ngayong araw, o ngayong gabi rather, is yung pagke-question ng ilang mga senador na bakit meron daw mga bigla ang last-minute request na nangyayari sa BICAM na sana raw, sabi ni Senator Loren Legarda, maging lesson na raw ito sa mga ahensya to prepare para beforehand para hindi raw magkakaroon ng ganitong pagka-question na maaaring matignan daw ng publiko na may nangyayaring insertions, may nangyayaring questionabling amendments sa panukalang pondo.
Well, sinabi naman nila no, na target nilang tapusan ito by tonight. But Marymon, in the event na hindi yan matatapos tonight, ano ba yung magiging plano ng BICAM? At may usapan pa rin ba tungkol sa posibilidad ng reenacted budget?
So far, Pauline, ngayon hindi pa ulit nabibring up. Pero yung reenacted budget kasi, may mga ilang senador na nagbanggit na kung hindi marerepasa to agad at kakailanganin pa ng additional na oras, maaaring gawin ito by January, para sa January or the first quarter of 2026. Pero still, yung stance ni Senator Sherwin at ni Chair Mika Swansing, kaya pa rin naman daw habulin. Ngayon nga lang, hindi na raw sila on schedule, nakakain na raw yung mga buffer days. Ang sabi dito ni Senator Win, hopefully by BICAM ngayon, pero kung hindi, open naman daw na magtrabaho ang mga senador, well, on the side of the Senate, hanggang sa pag-abot pa raw ng day before Christmas, so even December 23, 24, o kaya naman daw December 26, and hopefully matransmit naman ito kaya Pangulong Bongbong Marcos for signing December 29 o basta raw bago magbagong taon. Pero yun nga ang isang consideration din nila dito kasi kapag katapos ng BICAM, kailangan ng extra time in between the ratification and the end of the BICAM, yung production ng BICAM report nila dahil ipiprint in detail yung full copy ng enrolled bill at yun daw ang ira-ratify. Hindi summary, full copy, yung full enrolled bill. Kaya medyo nauubos na unti-unti yung original timeline nila. Kaya antabayanan natin once na matapos yung araw ngayon or hanggang bukas kung magkaka-extension ba ang BICAM o rerepasuhin na talaga nila within tomorrow or today or kung sinasabi, mauusog ito at possibly, baka magkaroon ng reenacted budget. Pero so far, wala pang sinasabi na magkakaroon ng reenacted budget.
Okay, Marymon, ano naman ang usapan tungkol sa medical assistance, yung MAIFIP?
Ako, Ses, yan pa rin yung isa sa inaantabayanan natin kasi hindi pa ulit nabibring up Ang nabring up pa lang kanina ulit is yung sa Department of Agriculture, yung sa DOTR, pero hindi pa ulit nabibring up yung dito sa case naman sa DOH, yung sa MAIFIP din na ang sinasabi rin dito ni Senator Ping, nagbigay nga siya ng babala na kapag ka itong maifip, 51 billion pesos, yung sa farm to market daw na kine-question niya, though kinlarify naman na dito sa BICAM is nanatili, hindi raw siya pipirma ng BICAM report. Pero yan yung aantabayanan din natin kung ano yung magiging final matrix na bubuin yung reconciliation dito, kung malilipat na ba siya directly para sa mga ospital or it will be retained under the program of MAIFIP, which Senator Ping Lacson says is an arrangement of political patronage na kung saan magmumukha rin daw itong small pork barrel. So we'll find out later.
Pero can we assume that Congressman Tino is for it dun sa iringan nilang dalawa? Sa pagitan ni Senator Lacson at saka ni Congressman Tino?
Well, ang pinaka-nakikita kasi natin ngayon, marami mga kongresista ang nagbibigay din ng kanilang mga komento dito. Kaya nga yung claim ni Representative Tino, meron din daw pork barrel na binubuo ang Senado. Pero on the side of Senator Ping, even from the beginning of the budget process sa Senado, siya yung galit na galit din. Ayaw niya nga daw magkaroon ng pork barrel. Kaya yung response niya dito kay Representative Tino, aralin daw yung budget. At so far, yun yung dynamics na nangyayari dito. And ang sinasabi naman ni Sen Win, though naging strenuous itong BICAM, especially first time siyang live stream, ito naman daw kasi yung kinakailangan talaga, maging open to the public para pwedeng makriticize and masilip, masinop, especially since itong kopya ng mga to, uploaded din siya sa transparency portal.
Okay, habang nag-uusap tayo, bumalik na ba sila sa dinner nila?
So far kasi ito sarado yung mga pinto sa taas natin sa balcony natin sila makikita. Pero yung dinner naman is dito sa loob. Pero tulad nung isang araw, pagka minsan nung Senator Sherwin, nung araw na ipopostpone yung BICAM, pumunta dito, merong isang lounge doon para mag-usap-usap si Chairman Swansing tsaka si Senator Win. Pero the rest of the huddlings na nakikita rin ng mga netizen is ginagawa sa loob mismo ng BICAM venue.
Okay. We will be waiting for more details from you. So, nandiyan ka, magdamag. Thank you for that detailed report, mobile journalist Merimon Reyes.
Well, it could have been the delays or the long and late hours of discussions. But on the third day of the BICAM, Senator Loren Legarda could not help but air out her frustrations over last-minute questions on missing items. As mentioned during the session, which started past 9 p.m. on Tuesday, December 16, Cagayan de Oro Representative Rufus Rodriguez asked why the 2026 budget bill excluded funding for 2 railway projects in Mindanao. It was at this point that a visibly irritated Legarda spoke out. She said agencies need to start preparing and drafting their own budgets properly and in full before allowing the NEP or National Expenditure Program to reach Congress. Legarda also stressed that this is a recurring problem that lawmakers face each year during the budget process.
That's why ayaw namin ma-insertion sa BICAM. Alam nyo, pare-pareho naman tayong mga nagtatanong sa ahensya. Yung mga ahensyang yan, sang-ayon ako sa inyo, kailangan. Bakit hindi liligay sa NEP? Hindi naman trabaho ng senador, ng chairman ng finance, sagutin ang ahensya, bakit wala sa NEP? Yun na yung tanong namin, bakit nga wala sa NEP? Mag-isip-isip sila, matuto sila gumawa ng budget nila. Bakit tayo mag-iisip ngayon, ba't wala sa NEP?
Thank you for the lecture,
Yeah.
Senator Loren.
I'm not lecturing.
No, we thank you really. You're really saying the right thing.
No,
But
it's true.
anyway,
Because I was there for 5 years, and sometimes, hanggang last minute, they submit in the BICAM.
Despite the delays and questions raised on certain allocations, the BICAM managed to pass the budgets of 20 agencies last night. These include the spending fund of the Office of the Vice President. The BICAM also retained the OVP's 889 million peso budget for 2026, which in the House version was slashed to 733 million pesos.
Meanwhile, the EDSA rehabilitation project is finally pushing through and on Christmas Eve. But the timeline and the budget for the makeover have been significantly cut. There will definitely be inconvenience, the Public Works Department says, but it hopes commuters and motorists will bear with government on this. The details in this report.
On Christmas Eve, December 24th, the long-awaited rehabilitation of EDSA is finally happening. It will be in 2 phases. For the first phase, the entire stretch of Rojas Boulevard to EDSA Orense in Makati will be repaired. Phase 2 will cover the stretch from Makati to Quezon City. Beginning 11 p.m. of December 24 up to 4 a.m. of January 5, the Public Works Department will undertake reblocking works and asphalt overlay on the EDSA busway, northbound and southbound. The schedule will be 24/7.
Dati, buong lane i-disrupt kung maalala nyo, di ba? Ipapasara yan buong araw. Ngayon, hindi na ganon. There will be minimal disruption. 24/7 tayong magtatrabaho sa EDSA during the Christmas holiday and New Year holiday. Wala naman masyadong gagamit ng EDSA during this time. Pati pasahero sa busway, hindi din ganun kadami. So we will take advantage of that.
And then between January 5 and May 31 of next year, EDSA will be open again to motorists and commuters. Asphalt overlay will continue, but will only be undertaken on both northbound and southbound sections, lane by lane, from 10 in the evening up to the next day at 4 in the morning. On Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, asphalt overlay and reblocking will be done on one lane, northbound and southbound.
Yung original plan na yon, magre-require, sabi nga ni Sec Vince, 2 years diluvian traffic dahil sara lagi ang isa't kalahating lane. This time, wala na pong saradong karsada by January 5 a.m. Kaya yung mga mitigating measures like na coding, yung libre skyway, wala na yon.
According to the DPWH, advanced technology will be utilized in laying asphalt on EDSA. This, Dizon said, ensures a stronger and more sustainable build. The new plan will cost the government 6.5 billion pesos, which is much less than the original 17 billion pesos allotted for the makeover of the major thoroughfare. To help commuters who will be affected by the rehabilitation, more buses will be deployed on EDSA, while there will be additional trains at the MRT-3 beginning Christmas. Transportation Secretary Giovanni Lopez also assured that the dedicated lane for buses along EDSA will not be removed. Recall that on June 1, President Bongbong Marcos suspended the planned EDSA rehab because of its possible impact on the already gridlocked Metro Manila. The chief executive also wanted the budget for the EDSA repairs slashed by half.
And in other news, the Christmas spirit is very much alive over at the University of the Philippines in Diliman as the State University holds its annual Lantern Parade. But it's not UP without political messages. Let's see some of the floats this year via mobile journalist Francis Rivera. Hi Francis, kamusta ang selebrasyon dyan na may tema ngayon na mga mukha at kwento ng UP?
Yes, Sean, despite their loss against the DLSU Green Archer in the UAP Men's Basketball Tournament, talaga namang ang Scholar ng Bayan still celebrates the 2025 UP Lantern Parade. With more than 50 colorful lanterns spun around the entire academic oval of UP, aside from the colorful lanterns and festive atmosphere, kanya-kanya talagang panawagan ang bitbit nila gaya ng ikulong na yan, mga kurakot at lahat ng kurakot dapat managot. Maging sa programa, bawat lanterns per unit or department may special performances. Pero kasabay pa rin yan ang kanilang sigaw to end the corruption. Right now, scholars are excited to know who will win this year's UP Lantern Parade. So makikita nyo sa ating nakikita nyo sa screen, talagang iba't iba ang pinapakita ng mga scholar ng bayan, ng mga float, mga lanterns. Pero kasabay nga niyan ay yung mensahe na matigil na o tumigil na ang korupsyon na nangyayari sa ating gobyerno.
Okay,
Session, Pauline, continue pa rin.
Go ahead, Francis.
Yes, continue pa rin yung ginaganap na programa at patuloy pa rin yung pagdi-deliberate o pag-judge doon sa mga lanterns na ginawa ng mga scholar ng bayan at iba't ibang department dito sa UP Diliman. So, inabangan nga nila kung sino ang mananalo for this year's 2025 UP Lantern Parade.
Okay, one quick question lang, Francis. Lahat ba ng floats may tema na anti-corruption? And is this per college, no? So per department?
Yes, sure. No, yung hindi man lahat, no, pero karamihan sa mga nakilahok dito sa 2025 Lantern Parade may tema nga ng pag-call out dun sa mga kurakot o sa pag-call out to end the corruption. Pero may mga entry din naman na talagang cute lang sila o cute o talagang maganda at talagang maganda lang ang pagkakarepresentante nila pero walang ibang mensahe. Pero karamihan, may mga bit-bit-bit silang mga mensahe patungkol nga dito sa mga nangyayaring korupsyon sa ating gobyerno.
Alright, maraming salamat. Mobile journalist Francis Rivera. Enjoy the rest of the night's festivities. He is reporting to us live from the University of the Philippines in Diliman, Quezon City. Maraming salamat.
Now, we're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, we have Laban TNVS President June De Leon talking about his group's concerns over surge fees cap, canceled booking fines, and plan to strike. Where does that leave commuters during the Christmas rush? The big story will return after this quick break. Stay with us.
2, 1! With that, our Meralco Liwanag Park.
Sige, binabati namin kayo mga kapwa.
You're watching The Big Story. Transport Network Companies, or TNVS, will be getting a reprieve as the LTFRB defers the holiday surge price caps implementation to Saturday, December 20. The price cap was supposed to start today, December 17. According to LTFRB Chairman Vigor Mendoza, the postponement gives TNCs more time to comply. The holiday surge price cap will take effect until January 4.
Request po ang ating mga TNC for additional time in order for them to adjust their readjust their program para ma-implement nila mabuti not only yung bagong surge price cap on the front end, pati yung back end system nila na hindi sila kakaltas dun sa surge price na pinapa-implement na natin.
Mendoza further explains that the price cap is part of their data gathering for the planned fare matrix for Transport Network Vehicle Services, or TNVS. He appeals to TNVS drivers to not push through with their offline protest.
Ang inihihi lang naman natin sa kanila, pakita nyo sa amin yung komputasyon kung bakit sila malulugi para mas lalo kaming makapagtugon sa kanilang mahinaing. Marami tayong may datos tayo na pwede ipakita sa ating mga hanakay kung bakit ganito ang presyo natin.
Now let's talk about this issue further with our first guest tonight. We have Laban TNVS President Leonardo De Leon. Magandang gabi po sa inyo. Welcome to The Big Story.
Magandang gabi po, Ma'am Ces, Ma'am Sean, and Ma'am Pauline. Magandang gabi po sa inyong mga taga-subaybay.
O ano naman ang tugon ninyo sa apela ng LTFRB?
Yung mga nakaraang araw po, medyo nagpanik po ang mga kasamahan natin na TNVS drivers dahil napalitaan natin yung memorandum circular na inilabas ng LTFRB ay siguradong mababawasan ang kita ng ating mga kasamahan na drivers ngayong holiday season. Pero naliwanagan naman po yung ating mga kasamahan na TNVS driver dahil tumulong na rin naman po yung Transport Network Company kung saan po sila bumabiyahe. Nagkaroon po na isinolder po ng isang TNC, yung InDrive, na kung saan sila bumabiyahe, yung nawawalang kita ng mga driver sa pagtapyas ng mga ng surge fee ng TNVS.
Pero hindi lahat.
Actually, hindi po lahat. Pero sana, dun sa mga ibang transport network company, Pasko naman, panahon na para magbigay naman. Total, matagal naman na silang kumikita dyan sa mga TNVS driver na kasamahan natin. Panahon naman para magbigay sila ng kahit papaano subsidiya or i-shoulder na nila yung mawawalang kita ng mga kasamahan nating drivers.
Hindi kaya nga dapat sila ang, hindi naman awayin, sila dapat hingan ninyo na lakihan naman ang share ng mga driver. Di ba?
Totoo po yun, Ma'am Ces, at pinapanawagan nga natin sa LTFRB na i-regulate ang mga commissions ng Transport Network Company. Kahit papano, ay pag bumaba ang komisyon na kinakaltas sa mga drivers, kikita naman ng maayos at malaki-laki ang may uwi ng mga drivers sa kanilang mga pamilya.
Okay, so ibig sabihin, di na kayo magsa-strike o nandyan pa rin ba yung inyong threat na mag-strike?
Medyo kumalma po ngayon dahil nga po may transport network company nga na tumulong, pero dun sa ibang mga transport network company na doon nagda-drive ang mga TNVS ay patuloy pa rin po ang ating pakikipag-ugnayan sa kanila kung okay na ba sila sa sistema or tulong ng TNCs sa mga TNVS driver.
Sino ba yung nagbigay ng subsidy? Pwede mo ba pangalanan?
Yung
sinabi mo na kanina.
Yung nabanggit ko po kanina, yung InDrive po.
Okay.
Galing po sila
InDrive.
sa 10%. Yes po. 10% commission. Ngayon po, nagbaba po sila. Halos 5% yung binigay nila na pagbaba, no? Pagbaba ng commission nila para lang mapalitan yung mga nawalang pamasahe doon sa surge fee. At ngayon po, inumpisahan na nila yon, hindi na nila inantay yung December 20. Kaya po, marami pong nagpapasalamat na TNVS driver na tumatangkilik po dito sa InDrive.
And just to clarify, no, Sir June, this applies to all ride-hailing apps na kotse? Hindi kasama dito yung mga motor? Or kasama din ba?
Hindi po kasama dito yung mga motor. Sa mga four wheels lang po ang pinag-uusapan natin dito.
Okay. So, gaano kahirap, no, for InDrive kasi medyo iba yung model nila, no? Medyo nasa bidding and matching siya. For the other apps or other TNCs, are they in talks with the rider partners para magkaroon ng, kumbaga, negosasyon about lowering the commission? Or may ganun po bang nagyayari ngayon?
Sa ngayon po, yung sinasabi natin bidding or negotiation through apps, wala na po yan. Siguro po nung mga unang taon ng InDrive dito, kaya po sila nasuspinde nung unang taon nila dito dahil dito sa bidding na business model nila. Dahil ito daw ang ginagamit nila sa buong mundo.
Correct.
No? Dito sa Pilipinas, highly regulated po kasi dito sa Pilipinas, kaya nagkamali po sila, kaya nasuspindi po sila. Pero ngayon po, wala na pong bidding, wala na pong negotiation sa application ng InDrive ngayon. Hindi po, bawal na po yon at hindi po ginagawa na ng mga drivers po yon.
Okay, and by your estimation, no, kahit sabihin nating babaan yung komisyon ng mga nung ride-hailing companies from the rider partners, yung mga driver mismo, do you think a lot of the drivers, kasi kung baga nasa sa inyo naman kung magla-log on kayo, magtatrabaho kayo o hindi, o mamamasada kayo do you think marami pa rin mag-o-opt na parang, sige, wag na lang, kasi baka lugi. Sayang pagod, traffic.
Totoo yun, ma'am. Kapag hindi na-satisfied yung mga TNVS driver sa transport network company kung saan sila bumabiyahe, baka mauwi rin po talaga sa pag-offline dahil malulugi lang din po sila.
And nobody can compel them to go to work, di ba? I mean, that's how the model works.
Yes po, tama po. Kung gusto mong bumiyahe ka. Kung ayaw mo, wag.
Pero gusto mo rin naman kumita, syempre. Di ba? Hirap naman ng wala kang pangpasko.
Totoo po yun. Talagang kapag hindi ka bumiyahe ngayon, wala kang pamasko.
So, yung ano bang impact ng 50% reduction sa surge pricing sa mga driver? At operator na rin. Una driver, tapos yung operator.
Malaki po. Kung 100 pesos po ang pamasahe, nagiging 200 pesos po yan. Pag naka-max po yung surge, no? Ibig sabihin, malaki po ang mawawala, kalahati ang mawawala.
50% talaga.
Opo, kalahati po ang mawawala. Kaya talaga nung una, tinutulan talaga natin ito at halos mauwi nga po sa hindi na pagbiyahe during rush hour. Pero patuloy po natin ipinapaliwanag na kapag nag-surge naman po, hindi naman po buong NCR or buong Metro Manila.
Certain areas lang.
Yes po, doon po sa matataong lugar. Natural po matatao ngayon sa mga malls.
Pero
simbahan, sa pasyalan.
pansin namin, no, Mr. De Leon, na parang hindi na masyadong traffic. Yung hindi kasing grabe nung isang linggo. Ganun, pansin mo rin ba? Pansin nyo rin ba?
Medyo sanay na din kami sa traffic. Talagang
Parang normal na lang.
normal na, pero medyo mabigat po dahil dumagdag ng ilang minuto yung mga biyahe natin. Dumadagdag talaga kahit papaano. Doon mo makikita yung although gumagalaw yung traffic ngayon, pero merong mga additional minutes na nadagdag kapag ikaw ay bumiyahe.
Sir June, balikan ko lang po yung 50% reduction sa surge pricing. Kasi sa panig po ng LTFRB, sabi po nila, yan na yung pinakabalanse for both parties, for the TNVS and for the commuters. Para sa inyo po, ano po ba ang pinaka-okay na compromise, magiging win-win sa parehong partido?
Alam niyo po, bago mag holiday season, humihirit na po kami ng taas pasahe. Meron po kaming petisyon na magtaas na kahit papano ng kaunting pamasahe sa TNVS dahil wala pa pong ganito ka traffic, nalulugi na po. Halos kailangan mag-drive ng 12 to 16 hours ng mga drivers para kumita lang ng maayos at may inis sa pamilya. Opo, humahaba po. Hahabaan lang po talaga. Ngayon.
Go ahead.
Sige pa.
Tanong ka ba, so ano pong gusto nyong mensahe na ipakamit sa mga commuters din? Kasi sila po rin yung nagrereklamo na sobrang mahal po ng pamasahe, yung ilang mga booking daw po nila naka-cancel din na walang rason dahil masyado daw either malulugi daw yung mga driver dahil short distance lang. So may mga ganung factors din po eh.
Dagdagan ko lang, Sir June, yung tanong ni Pawi, no? Ano ba talaga yung factor na nagpapalugi? Obviously, alam natin mataas yung presyo ng oil. Grabe yung traffic, so makaka-less bookings ka achieved in a day. But there's also the commission, yun nga yung pinag-uusapan natin kanina, nung main company ninyo, nung mother company ninyo. So ano po ba talaga yung factor na nagpapalugi of late?
Yung pagsundo po sa pasahero. For example po, kayo po magbubook dyan sa lugar ninyo at matatanggap ko 3 kilometers away. Yung pong distansya natin, libre po yun. Wala pong charge yun. Ang computation lang po kung saan po kayo nag-book at hanggang dun sa pupuntahan ninyo. Pero yan po ay pinag-usapan kanina sa LTFRB na baka at sana ito yung kapalit ng surge. Yung kung saan ka nakatanggap ng booking, maicha-charge na doon sa pasahero. Yan po, pag-aaralan pa ng LTFRB. Hindi pa po approve ito. At titignan pa natin kung may mga aalma pa at baka mas mataas ang pamasahe kapag ganun sa pasahero. So, kailangan talagang pag-aralan muna at hindi dapat mabilis na solusyon.
Ang sinasabi nyo kaya kinakansela dahil yung papunta pa lang sa pagsundo ng nag-book ay wala na. Parang lugi na. Ganun.
Totoo po yun. Ang isa, 2 kilometro po ngayon, umaabot ng 10 to 15 minutes na biyahe na.
Totoo, minsan more.
But why can we not put the burden on the companies also? Why is it the driver who is bearing this?
Or the passenger.
Or us, us, the consumers.
Opo. Alam niyo, parati pong parati pong naiipit dito yung driver at saka
consumer, the public, the riding public.
Yung pasahero. Meron naman pwedeng ibang paraan, no? Opo.
Bakit hindi? Sinasabi niyo ba yun?
Balikan po natin ang ating gobyerno.
Hindi, yung LTFRB nga, bakit hindi sila naman ang magbigay? Diba?
Tama po. At,
hindi, napapag-usapan ba yon sa inyong mga dialogo?
Ngayon po, napansin na ng LTFRB na bakit ang Transport Network Company kumukuha ng pumaparte sa surge fee na dapat sa driver naman yon dahil hindi naman sila nagka-traffic, hindi naman sila nagagasolina. So ngayon, doon po sa memorandum circular, hindi na po bawal nang kumuha ang Transport Network Company ng parte doon sa surge fee. At yan nga po, sinasabi kong TNC kanina, ay ngayon pa lang, in-implement na po nila. Hindi na po nila inantay yung December 20.
And why aren't the other companies following the example of InDrive?
Hindi ko po alam. Siyempre, meron pong competition din sa kanila. Baka meron din silang ibang atake para kumita yung kanilang mga drivers ng mas malaki.
Okay. So, in the meantime, no strike. Tama?
Tama po. Sa kasalukuyan po, wala pong titigil pasada, lalo na po yung mga drivers ng InDrive. Dire-diretso po yan. At titignan po natin at babalitaan po namin kayo dun sa ibang mga drivers ng ibang transport network company.
Okay, maraming salamat sa inyong panahon. Laban TNVS President Leonardo June De Leon.
And moving on to sports, the epic trilogy between the UP Fighting Maroons and De La Salle Green Archers ends with the Archers prevailing this year.
Fortea for three. No. De La Salle University will reclaim the championship and are kings once again of UAP.
There you have it, DLSU reclaiming the UAAP Men's Basketball Championship from UP in an 80-72 victory at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. Now, it's the Archers' 11th overall championship in UAAP. The UP was champion last year despite the presence of then LaSalle star player Kevin Kiambao. Current team captain Mike Phillips was named Finals MVP, a sweet conclusion to his last year with DLSU as a graduating student. The Archers are the only second team in UAAP history to win the men's title after settling for number 4 in the elimination round. LaSalle also clawed its way into a finals berth by defeating the top-seeded NU Bulldogs twice in the semifinals. UAAP's own statistician described Game 3 as a real toss-up, with UP and LaSalle each winning one title in the last 2 seasons. Now, the modern-day rivalry has undoubtedly attracted thousands of students from both camps, with many lining up outside Araneta for a chance to buy standing room-only tickets. And the final attendance count earlier today was a whopping 24,339. Well, for all of the LaSallians out there, Animo LaSalle.
This is still the big story on One News. And look who's been spotted after several weeks of absence. But where could Senator Bato de la Rosa be? Netizens are giving their guesses. We'll have the details for you after this quick break. Stay tuned.
Gang member, ang biktima, malaking gulo ito.
Akala ko ba under control niyo na yung mga gang?
Sputnik ang nagsimula ng gulo. Kayo rin natatapos nito. Wala nang susunod na mamamatay. Kuha mo.
Bata pa lang ako. Ito na yung gusto ko. Maging polis. Iba po pala, no? Hindi lang pala sa labas may kalaban.
Ito lang kayo. Kami, nandito. Kahit anumang malaman ninyo, hindi nyo maiintindihan.
Hanggang saan nyo ba kaya dalhin to? Kung wala namang pupuntahan, baka pa tayo magmamatikas.
Isipin mo mga kaibigan mo. Lalo na ang pamilya mo.
Si Cecil, classmate ko.
No, boyfriend mo na?
Hindi ho. Hindi pa.
Tayo mga pulis, araw-araw natin nakikita ang kalat, gulo, kasalanan ng mundo. Kung gusto nating magbago ang Maynila,
kailangan manggaling sa ating pagbabago.
Pag-isipan nyo kung karapat dapat pa rin kayong tawaging finest.
It's hope. Yung paniniwala nila na maganda pa rin ang mundo at may gaganda pa.
The big story is back, with the armed forces insisting there is no evidence whatsoever that the suspects in the Bondi Beach shooting had a terror training here. The AFP stressed there is no proof the gunmen in the gruesome attack in Sydney, Australia, carried out terror-related activities while in the Philippines. The military was reacting to an Australian media report that suspects Navid and Sajid Akram underwent military-style training in the southern Philippines in November. That's the time they visited Davao before taking a flight to Manila and then to Sydney. AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Padilla cautioned against such speculation, stressing that based on the AFP's ground data, there is no terror organization in the country capable of giving such training. Such reports, Padilla said, are also detrimental to the country's image.
They also have the loss of senior figures, which weakened the command structures and reduced the ability of these groups to plan, direct, and sustain operation. Therefore, there is no training capability or large-scale attacks. There have been no recorded terrorist training activities, recruitment efforts, or large-scale attacks by domestic LTGs since 2016. Kailangan po i-underscore natin kung ano talaga ang real situation on the ground, and no other entity or agency can attest to the actual situation on the ground in terms of these areas than the AFP.
President Bongbong Marcos also disputed accusations the Philippines is an ISIS training hotspot. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said such claims are misleading and are based on unvalidated information. Castro is appealing to foreign media to be responsible in their statements.
Of course, the President strongly rejects the sweeping statement and the misleading characterization of the Philippines as the ISIS training hotspot. Philippine authorities, in coordination with international partners, continue to verify all available information, but no evidence has been presented to support claims that the country was used for terrorist training.
All right, and now back to sports. There are only 3 days left before the 33rd Southeast Asian Games draw to a close. And some of our star athletes, including EJ Obiena and Alex Ayala, have contributed to the country's medal haul. As of 6:45 this evening, Team Philippines has raked in 36 gold medals, 49 silver, and 115 bronze for a total of 200. The country is still short, though, of 24 of its goal of 60 gold medals. Host country Thailand still tops the standings with 366 gold medals. And now let's get the latest on some of our remaining events there in the SEA Games. Joining us tonight is One Sports correspondent Miguel De Pianco, reporting us still live from Thailand. Hey Dip, how is Team Philippines doing over there?
Hey Pauline, after a relatively slow start for Team Philippines, we are now tied with Malaysia in terms of gold medals. And actually, we have a lot more bets who are have strong chances in getting a gold medal. So we'll talk about that later on. But again, we are ranked number 5 in the overall ranking. So that's good news for Team Pilipinas. Thanks to our athletes from Muay Thai, triathlon, and modern heptathlon today. Among others, sila yung mga naka-gold medal, kaya umangat tayo sa rankings. And this morning, I got a chance to cover our women's ice hockey team who made their debut in the Southeast Asian Games. So after 6 years, ice hockey is back in the SEA Games. And for the first time, the women are part of it. And some late game drama against Singapore in that semifinal showdown. It was 2-1 after the first 2 periods. And then Singapore scored a late goal with 5 minutes remaining in that match that set the score to 2-all. But in those last 5 minutes, Team Philippines managed to score 4 straight goals, 2 courtesy of Jasmine Alcido, 1 from Captain Bianca Cuevas, and another from Kathleen Tan that sealed the win for Team Philippines. They're off to the gold medal match in the women's ice hockey tournament as they face Thailand on Friday. And also, we got the chance to cover squash jumbo doubles earlier. We transferred from the ice hockey arena to the squash venue, and we got a silver medal in the under-21 mixed doubles category, and it was a close fight against Malaysia. They actually took down Malaysia in the preliminaries. However, Malaysia made some adjustments in this gold medal match, which is why Philippines settled for silver. And as I've mentioned, we have strong bets poised to win more gold medals for Team Philippines. Alex Iala is through to the final round of women's tennis. She will face an opponent from Thailand after beating a fellow Thai as well in the semis. Her supposed opponent that people were expecting was an Indonesian that had to retire in her own semifinals match. So she will now face a Thai opponent tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the finals. And finally, the big one tonight. We have to watch this. It will start in a few. I think it has already started, actually. The women's football going up against Vietnam. It is noted that in the elimination round, in the group stage, we beat Vietnam 1-0 and we scored a goal on the 94th minute. So that's how close it went in the group stages. But as I've mentioned, tonight, the Team Philippines, or the Filipinas, are looking to make history as they go up against Vietnam.
It's going to be her final game with the Filipinas, so we're going to watch out for that. But for now, thank you very much for that report. That was One Sports correspondent Miguel De Pianco reporting to us live from Thailand.
And for our big picture tonight, after weeks in virtual seclusion and being unavailable, Senator Bato de la Rosa has shown up and met up with his lawyer. In photos posted by the lawmaker's legal counsel, attorney Israelito Torreon, De La Rosa can be seen wearing a t-shirt and denim shorts. Eagle-eyed netizens said the lawyer and client were seen in front of a salon inside a mall in Davao City. Torreon accompanied his post with this caption, "Senator, laban lang tayo para sa bayan natin ito. Hinahunting ka pa rin, Senator. Ingat palagi, ha." De La Rosa has been absent from the Senate since November, skipping sessions and even the ongoing bicameral discussion on the 2026 national budget. He is the vice chairman of the Finance Committee, and there are reports that Senator Bato is the subject of an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court, or ICC, over the Duterte war on drugs.
I actually thought that looked like National Bookstore.
But it's a hair salon.
Oh.
And some people are pointing out why is Senator Bato
in front of a hair salon.
Okay.
It's ironic.
Netizens talaga. Okay, but for this midweek, that will do it for us here on The Big Story. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.